Okay.
Yep, that's started now.
Lovely, thanks, Steph. Welcome back, everybody. Russell, we were up to, going back, we're up to 1.5 in your report, the spatial plan. You want to carry on from there?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Colenso. Next level down of implementation work for the spatial plan is to key focus point is the master plan for Featherston. So that's been commenced. We've got Richard Knott and Ree Anderson working on that, and Featherston master plan needs to be a good opportunity for the community to input into that. So there's this meeting on the 30th of March for that purpose, to receive feedback. And across the realm of implementation matters, to activate the spatial plan itself is, for Martinborough, we have the Martinborough outer residential area, which will incur master planning component to bring that area forward in comprehensive or integrated planning. And James and I have actually been, in terms of implementation or interface work, there is the Ferry Road area in Martinborough, which is incurring some development interest there, and but Ferry Road itself will have to be, the result there will have to be an integrated approach in terms of planning, layout, and infrastructure planning to bring the area alive. So just a flavour of the implementation aspects there that we're into, and draw councillors' attention, committee members' attention to the presentation report on the Featherston master plan that sits as an appendix at the back there, which was presented to the Featherston Community Board for their awareness, outlining the nature of the work involved for compiling and developing a master plan for Featherston across this year.
Russell, are you okay to take some questions on the plan? Councillor Hay.
Hi there, thanks, Pam. I just wondered if there's an opportunity during the spatial plan to get some feedback on a lower speed limit on Underhill Road. And I know it may not meet regulatory requirements, but it might give some sense so we progress that a bit faster. Is there an opportunity there?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Hay. That, like I mentioned earlier, the focus is the urban area, but we've got to have our ears open to receiving, those concern points, or look at consideration points related to the realm around the edge of Featherston. So we'll keep our ears open to that, and we can we'll have to take that concern point forward as part of our thinking and response.
Great, thank you, Russell.
So, sorry, Russell, look, I think just picking up Rebecca's point, I think it is important to have that discussion around the boundaries of the urban area, not just limit ourselves to the, because I mean, with the district plan review, the obvious sensitivity here is around rural type activities, but in an area that's proximate to an urban centre. So whether we want to actually contemplate having an urban fringe and having a different planning environment. So I think that's really important, and it goes to the heart of what Leah's also saying about speed, because right now, without any, say for instance, a piggery or a broiler shed for chickens, or right now, all of those things, a processing factory, they are all permissible or consentable in that peri-urban area. So I think we should have that kind of discussion around the type of land use. Yep. Okay. Can we make that happen, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Mary Alex.
Yeah, I think this might be a question for James and Russell. Is we passed the spatial plan last year. And certainly we identified areas for the future with regards to possible expansion. How has the comments or feedback or applications reflected that timeline, or are people reacting to potential to look at private plan changes to change land use as a result of the spatial plan?
Thanks, Mayor Alex. What you normally incur, whether it's through district plan or spatial planning components, more likely under district plan, is sometimes you get the rush for people to develop and take opportunity. But the case we have here, which James and I have been communicating on with landowners, is for setting out the clear expectation of an integrated approach in terms of the development of the MF area, the Ferry Road portion of growth area for Martinborough. So you do have the impetus and proposals come, but we have to signal back, and that's what we've been doing in terms of potential development desire within a given area.
So we've had a number, Mayor Alex, of contacts and a number of related to a number of different pieces of land. I've got them, yeah, and they keep on coming. So they sometimes are in the spatial plan and sometimes they're out of the spatial plan area. So, but of course, there's a whole bunch of things that as Russell said, that we need to talk to them about. Number one, would that development undermine, for example, what the spatial plan is trying to achieve? Is it affordable to service? Can it connect into our networks? Do our networks actually have the capability of servicing those ones? There's a whole range of discussions that we're having in a whole number of sites. There are some sites that we could perhaps incorporate into the district plan review and roll over in terms of zoning, but those larger areas, as Russell refers to, the MF area, and those areas, the Greytown area down Papawai, for example, that needs a whole lot of careful thought, particularly about how the infrastructure integrates into that development, and whether it's at a cost of either land that's already zoned, as I said, or land that we've identified elsewhere. So there is a lot of pressure. There's a lot of discussions. We have had one application that hasn't met the basic requirements in terms of a resource consent, has been sent back with clear direction as to what that's been lacking. So we are under pressure, and they'll be sort of complex applications if they make it that far. But we are also, as Russell said, talking to a whole bunch of people about those areas and outlining our processes about how that might be integrated into working well.
Yeah, but the positive point that we're trying to seek is to liaise with the developers, hear their desire, advise them of what the outcome we're seeking and the integrated nature of infrastructure planning and layout that has to occur. And then even within that mix of discussion, there's things like there's two large property owners within that area, so we're desiring that the development occurs in an integrated way as one piece. So then there's background discussions, for example, of does one party want to sell their property or not, and then there are other example points of should it all be for housing, or can there be a potential retirement complex within a portion of the site? So things like that. That's the nature of the things that come up within a given area.
Thanks, Russell. Colin, you had a question?
Yeah, no, thanks. Thanks very much. Mine's a very quick question. I'm just keen on, you've got, I understand, a community engagement in Featherston on the 30th. Is that correct, Russell? Have I got my facts right? Yeah. Yep. So I'm just wondering about the format that community engagement is going to be undertaken. Is it a spiel on the plan, the spatial plan as such, and the master plan, or is it going to have the community going to have an opportunity to have a greater input into, and is it going to be spread out over perhaps a half a day or something, so that community can drop in and share their views? Yeah, just the format. I'd be really grateful if you could tell me.
So it's proposed for that to be online, but it'll be in terms of allowing opportunity to receive feedback from the community, and keep for Ree, myself, James, Kendall, to keep our ears open to the issues that come up. And as just has been mentioned, it could well be that our ears are drawn to issues outside the urban area and all the surrounding concerns. So it'll be we wait to have a good meeting on that. Has that answered your question enough?
Yeah, I have to say, online, I love online. You know how much I feel about that. Yeah. So community engagement is all about those perhaps who can't even access online but want to have a say. I think it's really important that we capture the flavour from our community by some sort of drop-in session, or by way of another method other than just an online one. So I was very keen to hear that. Thank you, Russell. The intention is to back it up with a questionnaire, so we can canvass a wide range of views.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Brenda, you had a question?
Yeah, I do, thanks. Hey, there's no reference to the card and market reserve management plan in any of the master planning. Is that going to be incorporated?
Thanks, Councillor West. So we're at the initial phase of the master plan. These consideration points will pop up. The phase we're in at the moment is having the stakeholder agency liaison and feedback, and that's been commenced. We have to keep our ears open in terms of amenity and issues related to reserve and topics of management plan. So it is something we'll need to be mindful of.
And I'm sure that for the other areas, they've got their own management plans as well. It's part of our policies, council policies. It's online there. But yeah, I just thought, I didn't see any reference to it. So that's why I asked. Thank you.
Thank you all. Two things. Firstly, Russell, that's really good to hear that you're going to do some communication or consultation with the community other than online. I think if I've got this right, that Daphne, when she was talking about her presentation about the master plan, she was saying that only 21 people from Featherston had actually commented on that, and that we needed to know what the community thought and cared, and we need to show that we care for that community and what their comments are. And I think having other methods to consult with them, or for them to have input into what we're looking at, is paramount to cover off those things. So that's really great if we can be mindful of that. Secondly, I'm also mindful that we have assets and services commencing at 12:30. Russell, can I just ask that if there's something that you need to highlight in your report, rather than just going through everything, I'm sorry to do this to you, or if there's something, if you highlight anything in your report, and then if councillors have got any questions on the rest of the report, we can maybe tick them off one by one. Would that be? And before you do, I see Councillor Olds has got his hand up.
No, thanks. Just 1.7 was the one key thing for me, I guess, in terms of the proposed council dog pound. I mean, this has been a matter that has been outstanding now for a number of years. And the progress report just seems to be the same progress report that we've had all the way through. I guess my concerns is that we have a budget of 250K, and we don't yet have a location that's been determined. And I guess that an update stating that we're still investigating those things is ongoing. Perhaps somebody could give me an answer.
See, Mr. Mead is online, so Russell, between you and Mr. Mead, I'm sure that you can cover that off. Thank you.
Yep. Councillor Rolls, you've nailed a key component. So investigation into the land option, and that I'll get Rick to talk to it, but it is a focus point at the moment, and we want this. We believe in the proposal we're going to put forward, as has been the case with council to date. So it's anchoring and getting confirmation on land and related issues, but I'll leave Rick to give you the latest.
Thanks, Russell. So in regards to the pound, it is an ongoing saga that we all know about, and the update is that we are investigating options, and our preferred option at the moment is seeking confirmation of land, which was the former golf course, which is down Old Soldiers Settlement Road, I think it's called. And so we looked at two options there. Firstly, establishing it on what used to be the old first tee, and we sought advice from other units such as planning, amenities, etc. And there were a few concerns that were raised in regards to that. We sought a second option to the just past the old former greenkeeper's shed that's there, and Officer McEwen and myself mapped out an area and found that we've got power and water supplies there within close proximity. It also removed a few of the issues in regards to resource consent, because we're having to establish a new pound area as opposed to the Johnson Street one, which had a pound in there. So we were just changing like for like. So in regards to that, there are still issues that we are having to engage with stakeholders on, because there is live leases and in regards to other occupants of that ground as well. So while it would appear our updates are stagnant, there's a lot of behind the scenes work being done in regards to that. So it's one of those situations we're trying to confirm the land use first, and then we'll go to market to get all the supply quotes to actually come out with a total figure of where we're going to go.
So Rick, just a quick question on that is that do you think that you're going to be able to work within the constraints of your 250K that is set aside to do just that?
If you give me 500K, I could do it. That's the aim. Now there are a couple of tweaks that I've added to this one, because there is been raised a concern as to the water supply of the bore. So we're actually looking at establishing some external water capacity, and there's a couple other initiatives that I've looked at as well in regards to power. So whether we can integrate a hybrid system of solar and mains. The simple answer is, at this stage, I do not know. Once I get confirmation of the land and the area that I'm getting, I need to go and get those quotes. And as mentioned prior to Christmas, the way of the world at the moment is, where are the supply costs going to land? And I simply don't have an answer. My intention is to get within cooey of it, if not under. But as I say, I wouldn't want to put my hand on heart to say.
Yeah. So just adding to that is that I note in December we had 5 impounded dogs, and that's throughout the month of December. And the maximum I've seen throughout the year have been 7 in any one month. I got to say, it's not a lot of dogs impounded, and it's a big expense. And I'm beginning to question now whether or not it is justifiable to spend that amount of money on a dog pound that has homes 5 dogs in any one month. And your bylaw officers do a very good job of actually finding homes and resolving problems, and a full credit to them. So I guess I'm questioning that now rather than going to the expense. So yeah.
Yeah, so I suppose the question would then be, even though it may be 4 a month, where as a territory are we going to put those dogs? And if we saw an increase, and I think I've outlined this previously, that we're in a unique situation at the moment with the pandemic. We're seeing a lot of people working from home, so we're hoping that's giving them more eyesight on what their dogs are doing. Secondly, I'll take the compliment and say that my animal control officers are doing an excellent job out there, and being very, very proactive in terms of how they're engaging and the methodology we're using. So yeah, can hear exactly what you're saying. But on the other hand, there is still a welfare need. If we get into an emergency situation, who's going to be able to answer that call? If you looked at it from a futuristic point of view, and that if it was a region where you had, say, one council, common sense would dictate that if you had one large pound in the north, you'd still need to do something in the south, because geographically it's too long to drive all the way across. So from my point of view, it makes perfect sense for South Wairarapa to be that, in the worst case scenario, secondary base, but to actually fulfill our requirements as a territory to have a pound as well.
Thank you, Rick. And yes, it is awesome to see there was no impounds for January. I had that as something to highlight. Mary Alex, you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I think Colin has asked my question regarding costs. With regards to the applicability of a pound, I'd hate to have to relitigate this that we've already done in council, and the numerous discussions we've had regarding shed pounds and the additional costs, actually even for construction that would so I'm looking forward to your incredibly affordable option that you're working on, Rick.
Thank you, Mayor Alex. That gives Rick a real task ahead. Right.
Pam, you're on mute.
Got it here. It's almost 12 o'clock. So Russell, can we just take questions, or was there anything else that you needed to highlight?
The only other thing I highlight, Madam Chair, is the district plan review topic rolls on with our councillor attendees on that committee, Councillor Plummer and Councillor Jefferson. And about 2 weeks ago, the last meeting was held with an array of draft chapters and topics presented, including residential zone, commercial zone, the approach for open space zones and rural subdivision. Rural subdivision, the Boffa-Miscall, in line with advisory officers, have looked at rural land and the need to protect highly versatile soils in line with national direction. So it could be that the minimum lot size in the future for rural lots is potentially 40 hectares. So it's one example of topics that are being looked at in the within the mix of topics for district plan review.
Right, thank you. Councillor West.
Just quickly, with regards to 2.5.1, health and safety food, safe food, do we have any notifications of when businesses close? And is this something that's worth monitoring, just to keep an idea of our economic development? Sorry about that.
Rick, could you clarify that for us, please?
So this was in regards to the food premises close?
Yeah, I suppose it relates to any businesses that close, and it kind of like it's fairly pertinent to see how we're doing economically within our region.
Simple answer is yes. So we would find out in regards to when they have to re-register. So with a food premise depends on their verification methodology. So that might be 3, 6, 12, 18 months. Alcohol is the same depending on when the renewal comes up. So we do find out pretty quickly outside of the usual grapevine. We've been lucky in that the pandemic so far has not shown, yeah, exactly, has not shown a negative effect to us. We've had the ebbs and flows you'd naturally get, but I think overall the information and the evidence I've sort of talked to premises is that we've done quite well in terms of in the hospitality once they're open, and the food side of it as well. They've seemed to have geared quite well because we've tapped into that local Wellington tourist, for want of a better word.
Awesome. Okay, so that's basically regards. We know when businesses turn over, but do we have an eyesight of businesses closing down?
We do know they've closed. I haven't seen any placards or long-term for sale signs that visually we've done, but we don't collect that per se. So ours is more of a visual. The guys out there are seeing this and comments come back, and we hear pretty quick if businesses are being removed, and then obviously we take interest in terms of that. But I not specifically, we don't collect that stat.
Okay, cool, excellent, thank you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Russell. Nothing else that you wish to highlight on your report, shall we?
Very briefly, just the action items. We've got one outstanding action, which not surprisingly covers resolution of the dog pound matter, which we're working on. And I'll just make the final point in terms of responding to Councillor Old's prompt is we need to get action and a resolution happening and clarify if there are any hurdles to site location, and we'll do that, as well as costing. But also we need an improved pound in terms of modern dog welfare requirements, which we need to achieve.
Great, thank you. Councillor West.
Yeah, just quickly, Pam, if we can receive that report.
Yes, I realise that we haven't done that. Thank you. So in retrospect, would someone like to move that we, the action item, the action items report, if we could receive that. Thank you, Councillor Hay, Councillor West second. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Carried, thank you. Steph, can I ask you a quick question? Did I move and second the planning and environmental report?
Yes, you did that quite early on.
Okay, lovely, thank you. I just hadn't made a note on my phone for doing that. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for attending. Thank you, officers, for your input into what we were discussing today. Your words of wisdom and thoughts are really appreciated, and there's certainly a lot of work gone into our reports and things like that, so appreciate that. So have a nice afternoon before you end up on assets and services.